Brothers and sisters of Africa, hear me well tonight. I do not come to whisper. I come to thunder against the betrayal we witness in South Africa. Watch this message until the end. If you truly love me, you will recognize the truth. The man who sits in the highest office while his people drown in despair, Cyril Ramaphosa. Yes, I will call his name. I do not fear it, because silence in the face of treachery is complicity. And I, Ibrahim Traoré, will never be complicit in the destruction of Africa by her own sons, who choose to serve foreign masters instead of their people. Ramaphosa has become the living symbol of what happens when a liberation movement loses its soul, when the promises of freedom are traded for contracts with foreign companies, when the spirit of Mandela, Biko, and Chris Hani is sold for silver coins. The ANC, once a beacon of African struggle, now crawls on its knees like a beggar, and Ramaphosa is the face of that shame. Look at South Africa today. Do you see prosperity? Do you see liberation? No. What you see is collapse, collapse of power, collapse of jobs, collapse of dignity. The black youth, the very children for whom blood was spilled in Soweto, wander the streets unemployed, forgotten, and disrespected. Meanwhile, Ramaphosa smiles for cameras in Europe, shaking hands with men who continue to exploit Africa's minerals, her land, her people. Is this the freedom South Africa fought for? Is this the destiny of the great ANC? No, it is betrayal at the highest level. Ramaphosa, you sit in office as if you were a chief executive of a Western corporation, not a leader of a proud African nation. You have reduced the ANC into a corporation of corruption, a marketplace where power is bought and sold. Eskom collapses, the lights go out, and South Africans live in darkness while you enrich yourself. Millions are without work, without hope. Yet you boast of billions made in your private ventures. How do you sleep at night knowing your people are hungry? How do you wear that smile, knowing mothers bury their sons because of crime, poverty, and unemployment? Do not speak to me of reconciliation when justice has never come. Do not speak of progress when townships rot. Do not speak of democracy when corruption strangles your institutions. You are a businessman first, Ramaphosa, and that is your curse. You treat South Africa as your farm, the ANC as your company, and the people as cheap labor. You forgot the struggle. You forgot that freedom is not for sale. I say this with fire in my chest. The ANC under Ramaphosa is dead. It is a walking corpse. Once it was a sword against apartheid. Now it is a spoon feeding foreign interests. Once it was the voice of the oppressed. Now it is the language of the oppressor. South Africa deserved a revolution of minds and of economy. But Ramaphosa gave them trickery, speeches, and empty promises. He stands not as a liberator, but as a gatekeeper for imperialism. You tell the world you are building a rainbow nation. But what rainbow is this, where black South Africans still suffer in the mines like slaves? Where their land remains stolen? Where their dignity is trampled? What rainbow is this, where the white minority still holds the keys to the economy, while the black majority remains chained to poverty? Do you not see, Ramaphosa, that you are nothing but a smiling mask covering the ugly face of neocolonialism? South Africa should have been the economic engine of Africa. It should have stood tall and lifted the continent with its wealth. But under you, Ramaphosa, it crumbles. It sinks. Foreigners take your gold, your diamonds, your platinum, your land. And you, instead of building Africa's pride, beg them for loans. You kneel for approval. You bow for investment. And to the youth of South Africa I say, do not be fooled by this man's speeches. He is not your father. He is your betrayer. Rise. Question. Reject this leadership that sees you as expendable. Ramaphosa fears the fire of young Africans who refuse crumbs. That is why he feeds you slogans while he fills the pockets of his friends. That is why the ANC clings to power through fear, division, and corruption. They fear the day you will say, "Enough!" Ramaphosa, listen to me now. Africa has no more patience for weak leaders. We do not need servants of the West. We do not need smiling faces that hide corruption. We do not need cowards who bow when they should stand. You are a coward. Yes, I said it. A coward who feared the true revolution. Who feared reclaiming land and the economy for your people. Who feared upsetting the white masters. Instead, you chose comfort. You chose compromise. You chose betrayal. When the history of Africa is written, you will not stand among the giants. You will not be remembered as a liberator. You will be remembered as a man who inherited the struggle and squandered it. A man who carried the torch of freedom only to extinguish it for profit. A man who chose to serve capital instead of justice. Do you not feel shame, Ramaphosa, when you walk in the footsteps of Mandela but drag the chains of corruption behind you? Do you not hear the voices of the martyrs crying against your betrayal? Chris Hani, would he recognize this ANC of yours? Steve Biko, would he not spit on the cowardice of your leadership? The ancestors are watching, and their judgment will be harsh. I say to you, step aside if you cannot lead with courage. Step aside if you cannot serve your people. Step aside if your heart beats only for money and foreign praise. Africa has no time left for men like you. Africa is rising, Ramaphosa, with or without you. And when we rise, we will not rise with cowards. We will rise with lions. Let the people hear me well. It is time to tear down the false gods of politics. It is time to expose the hypocrites, who wear the clothes of revolution, but live as kings while their people starve. Ramaphosa has exposed himself as such a man. And the ANC under him has become nothing but a relic of betrayal. The youth must not be afraid. The workers must not be silent. The poor must not be patient. Enough waiting. Enough hoping. Enough begging. Stand up and claim what is yours. Demand leaders who fear no one but God, who serve no one but the people, who bow to no flag but the flag of Africa. I will not sugarcoat it. Ramaphosa, you are a disgrace. You are living proof that liberation without economic freedom is nothing. You are proof that when leaders forget their people, the nation dies. But South Africa will not die. Africa will not die. The people will rise. The youth will lead. And they will sweep away corruption, cowardice, and betrayal. Mark my words. The fire that started in Burkina Faso will spread. The fire of resistance, the fire of true independence, the fire of African pride. And when it reaches South Africa, no Ramaphosa, no failing ANC, no foreign master will extinguish it. This is not a warning. This is a prophecy. Africa is awake. And those who betray her will face the wrath of her children. Ramaphosa, your time of pretending is ending. Your mask is falling. And when it does, the whole world will see the coward you truly are. Africa is done with cowards. Africa demands lions. Africa demands leaders who will die before they betray. Brothers and sisters, let me remind you of this truth. Betrayal does not come from your enemy. Betrayal comes from the one who stands beside you. From the one who carries your hopes. From the one who promises to fight for you, but then sells you in the marketplace of the oppressor. And that, my people, is exactly what Cyril Ramaphosa has done. He inherited the torch of liberation, but instead of carrying it forward to the finish line of freedom, he used it to light the cigars of foreign corporations. He betrayed the struggle. He betrayed his people. He betrayed Africa. The liberation struggle in South Africa was not just about ending apartheid in law. No, it was about breaking the chains of economic slavery. It was about restoring land to its rightful owners. It was about giving the black child dignity. Ensuring that those who suffered under apartheid would live free not just politically, But economically, freedom was never meant to be a flag in the sky and hunger in the stomach. Freedom was never meant to be a national anthem sung in darkness because Eskom has collapsed. Freedom was meant to be the reclaiming of power, wealth, and dignity. But Ramaphosa chose another path. The path of cowardice. The path of comfort. The path of selling his people's inheritance to foreign masters. And do you know why? Because he was never a revolutionary at heart. He was always a businessman. And what does a businessman see? Profit, not justice. Contracts, not liberation. Shareholders, not citizens. Under him, the ANC became less a liberation movement and more a corporation serving foreign shareholders. Look at the mines. Look at the gold, the platinum, the diamonds. Who controls them today? Is it the black South African people who bled and died in Marikana, who sacrificed in Soweto, who buried their children during apartheid? No. It is still foreign companies, the same structures of exploitation dressed in modern suits. And Ramaphosa, instead of reclaiming control, protects their interests. He ensures their profits. He tells them, "Do not fear. I am your man." This is betrayal. Do you remember Marikana? Do you remember the massacre, where workers demanding fair wages were gunned down like animals? Where was Ramaphosa then? He stood with the corporations, not the workers. He was in the boardrooms, not the mines. He was with the bosses, not the people. That day revealed his true heart, a man who would rather protect profit than protect lives. What happened to land reform? What happened to the promise that land would be returned to the dispossessed? He delays. He commissions reports. He promises, but he never delivers. Because true reform would mean confronting those who still hold the land, those who finance his campaigns, those whose approval he craves in the West. Ramaphosa will not confront them. He bows. He negotiates. He serves. This is not leadership. This is servitude. And what of the ANC itself? The ANC that once carried the dreams of Africa's oppressed is now nothing but a mask. It wears the clothes of revolution, but its heart is owned by corporations. It sings the songs of freedom while signing contracts of betrayal. At the head of this hypocrisy sits Ramaphosa, the smiling betrayer. He attends global forums to boast of South Africa's open economy. But that open economy means open looting, open exploitation, open robbery of the people's resources. Do not be deceived, my people. Ramaphosa is not building a South Africa for South Africans. He is building a South Africa for investors. A playground for Western companies who dig, mine, exploit, and leave behind poisoned soil and broken communities. This is not Mandela's dream. This is not Biko's vision. This is not Chris Hani's sacrifice. This is betrayal. And betrayal always comes with a price. The price is unemployment. The price is poverty. The price is youth wandering hopeless in the streets. The price is crime devouring communities. The price is a nation bleeding while its leader smiles abroad. Ramaphosa, you were supposed to finish the fight. You were supposed to break the chains. You were supposed to take the struggle to its true end, African ownership of African resources. But instead, you sold the soul of the ANC and turned South Africa into a playground for the very powers the struggle fought to defeat. You are not the heir of the struggle. You are its gravedigger. And I say to the people, never forgive betrayal. Never accept it. The struggle is not over. It has only been hijacked. The youth must reclaim it. The workers must reclaim it. The poor must reclaim it. The liberation struggle belongs to the people, not to Ramaphosa, not to the ANC, and certainly not to the corporations. When I look at the ANC under Ramaphosa, I see a corpse. Yes, a corpse. Once, it was alive, filled with the blood of revolution, the fire of sacrifice, the heartbeat of millions who dared to dream. Today, under Ramaphosa, it is no longer a movement, it is a carcass. It still wears the clothes of struggle. It still sings the songs of liberation. But inside, there is nothing but rot, corruption, division, and death. It is cold. That is what the ANC has become. Cold to the cries of the poor. Cold to the hunger of the people. Cold to the pain of the youth. Once, it was the spear of the nation. Now it is nothing but a dull blade rusting in the hands of greedy men. Once it struck fear into oppressors. Now it strikes only secret deals in back rooms. Once it stood for the liberation of the African child. Now it stands only for the enrichment of its leaders. Look at the youth of South Africa. What have they inherited from this ANC? Not jobs. Not dignity. Not hope. They inherit unemployment. They inherit drugs. They inherit crime. They inherit despair. They are children of freedom, yet they live shackled in chains of poverty. And while the youth wander jobless, the leaders of the ANC drive luxury cars, wear designer suits, and feast at the tables of foreign ambassadors. Is this not betrayal? Is this not decay? Look at the poor. What has the ANC given them? Empty promises. Every election, the same tired lies. We will deliver jobs. We will deliver houses. We will deliver land. Yet the poor remain in shacks. The poor still drink filthy water. The poor still wait endlessly for electricity that never comes. And while the poor suffer, ANC officials grow rich. Rich from tenders of corruption, rich from stolen state funds, rich from deals that fatten their pockets while the people starve. And look at the nation itself. South Africa, so rich in resources, so blessed with potential, stands today in darkness. Eskom collapses. The lights go out. Businesses shut down. Hospitals struggle. Children cannot study. Do you not see the symbol? A liberation movement that once brought light to its people now leaves them in literal darkness. That is the truth of the ANC under Ramaphosa. And do not tell me this is by accident. It is not accident. It is the result of corruption, of mismanagement, of cowardice. When leaders fight not for the people but for positions. When they care not for the nation but for their factions. When they divide themselves while the people suffer. That is not leadership. That is rot. And the ANC is rotting from the inside out. Ramaphosa pretends he is the man who will clean the ANC. But tell me, how can a man who is part of the rot cleanse the rot? How can a man who profits from corruption fight corruption? How can a man who climbed into power on the back of corporate money ever stand for the people? It is impossible. He speaks of renewal, but renewal cannot come from a corpse. Renewal demands life. And there is no life left in the ANC. And so, my people, you must face the truth. The ANC of Mandela is gone. The ANC of Biko's dreams is gone. What remains is a corpse that reeks of corruption, of betrayal, of cowardice. And a corpse cannot lead the living. The youth must not let this corpse choke their future. The poor must not let this corpse suffocate their hope. South Africa cannot be buried together with this corpse of the ANC. It is time to bury it and build anew. I say it again. The ANC under Ramaphosa is a corpse. And Africa has no use for corpses. Africa has use only for movements that breathe, that fight, that sacrifice, that live for the people. South Africa must rise again, not with this dead ANC, but with a new spirit, a new fire, a new generation that refuses corruption, refuses division, refuses failure. Let us speak truth tonight. Political freedom without economic freedom is a lie. It is a flag without land. It is an anthem without bread. It is a vote without dignity. And that is what South Africa has today. They tell you apartheid is gone. They tell you you are free. They tell you that you live in a democracy. But ask yourself, Who owns the land? Who owns the mines? Who owns the banks? Who controls the wealth? The answer is the same as it was under apartheid. Not the people. Not the poor. Not the youth. Not the black majority. But a handful of elites and foreign corporations. And Ramaphosa, instead of ending this injustice, protects it. He smiles for Western approval while his people sink in poverty. South Africa fought one of the greatest struggles of the 20th century. Generations died, sacrificed, and suffered not just to end white rule, but to restore dignity, to reclaim the land, to reclaim the economy. Because true freedom means nothing if the people remain slaves to poverty. But what has Ramaphosa done with that struggle? He has reduced it to a business deal. He has turned the blood of martyrs into a bargaining chip. Instead of breaking the chains of economic slavery, he polished those chains and called it democracy. Look at the land question. Decades of promises, and still nothing. The land remains in the hands of a few, while millions of black South Africans remain landless, working on farms they will never own, living in shacks on soil that rightfully belongs to them. Ramaphosa speaks of land reform, but delays it, weakens it, compromises it until it is meaningless. He dares not confront the powerful landowners. He dares not upset foreign investors. He chooses comfort for the rich over justice for the poor. That is not leadership. That is betrayal. And the mines? The very heart of South Africa's wealth. The soil of this country is a treasure chest of gold, platinum, diamonds, and minerals the world cannot live without. These riches should be the foundation of African prosperity. They should build schools, hospitals, roads, industries. But instead, they fill the pockets of billionaires and foreign corporations, while the miners themselves live in poverty, dying in accidents underground. What greater shame is this? That the wealth of the land flows away, while the children of the land go hungry. And what does Ramaphosa do? He strikes deals with the corporations. He shields their profits. He invites them to dig even deeper while his people starve. Do you remember Marikana? Do you remember when workers demanding only a living wage were massacred, gunned down like animals? And what was Ramaphosa's role? He was not with the workers. He was with the corporations. He stood not with the people, but with the owners. That is the essence of Ramaphosa, a servant of capital, not a servant of the people. Economic freedom is not a luxury. It is the very heart of liberation. Without land, without wealth, without control over resources, political freedom is a mask, a deception, a shadow. And South Africa today lives in that shadow. Ramaphosa is the guardian of that shadow. He walks on stages in Europe and America, shaking hands with those who plunder Africa, and they applaud him because he keeps their system safe. He protects their access to your land, your mines, your wealth. That is why they love him. That is why they call him a statesman. But the people, the poor, the youth, the workers, what do they call him? They call him a betrayer.